Last November, a Reddit post appeared in the world building and D&D subreddit showing off a really cool looking world building app, and I've been excited for this ever since. Well, LegendKeeper has finally reached the public beta, so today we're going to be taking a look and seeing what it can do. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to see more D&D and world building related content. Now, before we dive into this overview/review, there are a few things to cover. First, LegendKeeper is a subscription-based service. At the moment, we don't know exactly how much it is going to cost, but there's been talk of it being somewhere in the range of $5 to $7 a month with annual options available. Another thing to note is that LegendKeeper isn't a map tool. You're going to need to use something like Wonderdraft, which I've spoken a lot about in the past. You can see that up here. LegendKeeper is all about managing your world and not the map itself. Right then, so let's dive in and get started. When you load up LegendKeeper, you're going to be presented with this screen. You will only have Shared Landia on there and the option to create a new project. Shared Landia is the community world where people post templates and all sorts of different resources that you can copy into your own world. But today we're going to be creating a new project and we will call it our YouTube test. So we'll click here on our created world, and the first thing that you'll see is that it'll say no map here. LegendKeeper at the moment defaults to working off having a map. Your world will need a map because a big part of the functionality is the atlas and all the things that you can do with a map. So we need to add a map. So we'll load up the wizard and choose a map from the computer and load it in. For this, I'm going to use the map of Ash that I've been developing over the last few months, just to give you an example. We'll select that and then hit upload and it will add it to our world. LegendKeeper supports pretty huge maps. You can import an image up to 100 megabytes or 16,000 by 16,000 pixels. So you can get really massive maps full of a lot of detail and really dive into that detail using the Atlas feature. So once your map's loaded, we'll click on that, click done, and you'll see that LegendKeeper will load it up. You can zoom into your map, you can move around and navigate. You can see that it's broken into small tiles, so it will load only the bit of the map that you need right then. Once it's loaded in fully, it does load much quicker than next time you go into it, so you don't need to worry about that. But particularly large maps might take a few seconds. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to start adding places to this map. That's what the Atlas is all about. Getting your map in, dropping a load of pins in for locations, and then linking all of that together. So we will zoom in here and we'll choose location. Right click on that location and we can add a pin. Now we could add pins for places if this location is a city or a settlement, or we can choose options for beings, items, abilities, or codex. Now codex is the catch-all article category. So no matter what you want to highlight on your map, you've got an option for it. But we'll start with a place. And this place out in the middle of the desert is Mahit, the city of the dead. So we'll name that and click add. And you see that it will drop a pin in. And if we zoom out, we can click on that pin and it brings up a sidebar. Now this sidebar is a link to a wiki page that'll have all the information that you put in about your city. You don't have to start adding information for these settlements straight away. You can drop pins all over your map and add pins for each of your settlements right off the bat. It will create the articles for them, but you're not forced to add any information to them right away. When you are ready, you'll just click on your pin, click on edit, and it will bring up the dialog box. A couple of things to note here. You can see that it says start typing or press the / to see a list of commands. I missed this at first and kept asking questions on how to do things that weren't really obvious straight away because I'd gone over and overwritten this batch of text. So by pressing the / button, you get this contextual menu that gives you all sorts of different options on formatting your text. The text editor in LegendKeeper is still quite basic, and one of the ways that people have been getting around this is using things like Google Docs and Google Sheets to create templates with more formatting options and then pasting those in. That is what I have done with my settlements. I went into Google Sheets, I created a rough template, and then I paste that in anytime that I want to make a new settlement. So I paste it in, I click save and close, and then you can see that it adds in the information. Now this sidebar is only a preview of the actual article, intended to give you a really quick look at a location. When you want to see the entire location's information, you'd click the wiki button and that opens it up into the full size version, and you can see here that I've pasted in my blank settlement template, which gives me information on all the population and spell casting level of a settlement, as well as some headings for different areas. One of the things that attracted me to LegendKeeper so much is the ability to link everything together, particularly linking maps together. So if I go here on my map and click on the pin for Mahit, you'll see that it will open up my article in a preview window, and up here I can click on the wiki to see the full version, or I can edit it. But in the middle here you can see there's a map option. And if I click on that map option, it'll say there's no map here, but I can add one. So let's start by adding one, and we will click on here and choose a file from our computer. We'll select the map and we'll upload that, much like we did with our main atlas map right at the start. Once that is done, when I click on my pin again and click on the map button, it will open up this new image that I've uploaded. And just like on the atlas map, I can go here and I can add pins, I can add information for NPCs, I can add article information. So in the ziggurat here, I could add a codex entry and add a codex entry for the ziggurat, so that when I click on that, it brings up all the information for that location inside the city. Or I could click over here on the golden tower and add a place icon for the golden tower. And you can see that just beneath I can choose the parent element for it. So this is part of the city of Mahit, but if this was part of a different location, I could change that. If I wanted to highlight an NPC, so if I pulled this map up and my players wanted to go to the Iron Square and meet a particular NPC there, I could click that and click add being, and that will give me the option to add in an NPC article straight to this map. So if we add something for Joe Blogs and we choose the parent category here, is currently none, but we can go in later and change that and organize our NPCs. But we add that, and then when we open this map, we have information on locations, we have articles about different areas within the city, and we can open up information about NPCs all from this map. I think it's a really intuitive way to run a city. When you're in the middle of a game, you pull up your city map or your location map, and your players can say, I want to go to the blacksmith. Well, you've got a pin on the blacksmith that gives you information about who lives there, who works there, who runs it, who's likely to be in there. You can add information on the items that might be available in there. You could add a list of available items in the blacksmith and link those to item articles within LegendKeeper. There's a huge scope for different linking between things. LegendKeeper doesn't have the ability to link to external sites, so you have to use a workaround at the minute. It is in the pipeline to add links to external sites within the functionality of the app, but at the moment you can't. So the workaround that you can use is either create a link in a Google Doc and then paste that over, or grab a link from a web page. For example, I run Pathfinder, so there is a whole SRD available online that is fully hyperlinked to different abilities and rules. If I go into that SRD and paste over a stat block, it will paste all of the links perfectly. So let's show you that. Let's go into the wiki and we will go into our codex, and let's add a new section called monsters. And then when you want to nest something underneath an existing page, you'll see there's this little plus icon here. So we'll click on that and we will make an entry for a skeleton. And then on our SRD page, we will select all of our text here and bring it into LegendKeeper, open up the entry for the skeleton and paste that in. And you can see that it retains the links. So if I did this for a selection of monsters for an adventure and I wanted to know what the undead traits were, I could click on it and it will open the undead traits page on the SRD. This is a really handy feature, especially if you are running a game that has an online SRD and has that linked capabilities. You can keep all of those functions within LegendKeeper. So let's say I wanted to go onto my city map, and let's say that we wanted to have a particular building be a place where the adventure takes our party and there is some sort of combat. So we'll just call it map for now. Open it up and we'd add a battle map. So then when we clicked on our pin for a particular building, we'd click on the map and it would open up the battle map. What we can do then is add those monsters that we've made onto the map. So let's say over here in the corner there would be a skeleton. Well, we'd right click on that, click on codex and click over onto link existing. Then we just start typing and it will autofill any option that matches. So we've got skeleton, we click that, click on add and it drops in the skeleton, so we know when we're running it. Maybe we've got this behind our DM screen and we've drawn out the map on a battle map in front of the players. We know where the skeletons are going to be placed, and we can also click on them and it will open up their information on the sidebar, making running each of those creatures really, really easy, because the information is there when you want it, but when you don't need it, it goes away. You click on a different element, you navigate to your player's particular sheet, but when you need to know what the skeleton is, you click on it and there is its information. The internal linking system in LegendKeeper is really nice. It's all really intuitive and works really well. So if I go into Mahit here and go into the city, maybe I'd want to make a note that the city is full of skeletons. So I'd write the city is full of skeletons. Now, if I want to link that word skeletons to an existing page, to my skeleton profile, I can just double click on it, and up here, this contextual menu that appears, click on element, codex, and then link existing, and start typing out skeleton. I do that, add it, and it will link to that article. I can then hover over it, and it gives me a preview of that article within this article. So let's go back over to our map and you can see how this starts to play out really, really nicely. So we know our players are in the city of Mahit. We click that, which will open up our preview. We know that the city is full of skeletons. We hover over that link and we get a preview of that page as well. Then, as long as we're careful where we put the mouse, we can get into that page and hover over any internal links within there, and it will open another preview. And this means that you can access a huge amount of information about your world without having to navigate through a huge amount of pages. When you want to know about a particular NPC in the city, say you've clicked on the city's icon and it's brought up the preview of the article for the city, and you want to know who the mayor is, you hover over the mayor information and it will give it to you. So to show you some more of the functions, I'm going to jump into my world of Ashk and show you what I've been able to achieve over a couple days of work. So we'll close that down, we'll come down here to the settings icon and we can switch projects. Now I'll switch over to the Ashk and you can see I've got the full map and plenty of map markers. If I hover over a map marker, it gives me a rough area where those markers are, and I can click on that, zoom into that area, and you can see that I've added all sorts of settlements. One thing that is really nice is when you click on a settlement and click the edit button up here at the top left, you can change the color and the icon of your pin. So I like to use red signposts for my cities, a more golden color for my settlements, but then for adventure locations I might use a different color, like down here for the Crypt of the Everflame, which is a Pathfinder adventure module. I have made it a blue flame icon, and when I click into that, once it's all done, that will bring me to my adventure information. It's just outside the town of Cassin, which is from that adventure module, and if I click on that map, you can see that I've loaded in all the information available from the module, so that all the different locations are available, including the information that is available in the module. And if I click on, say, Mayor Upthal's house, it will give me information on the mayor, including an image nested in those articles like I talked about before. And then in the wiki, you can see that I've got a lot of information added. In the Beings tab, I grabbed a template from Shared Landia and ported that in, and I've got information for different NPCs, some of which have been nested into locations. So for example, in Cassin, I've put Mayor Uptal in that location so that I can collapse it, and I only need to see the people I need information on in that session. Same in the codex, I've added lots of sections of my own. For example, I've added a religion section and started to add in all of the deities from my setting. At the moment, I've only got their information for domains and a brief outline, but over time I will start adding in those templates so everything looks really nice. One thing that is frustrating with the wiki system is that the articles always sort themselves alphabetically. Most of the time this isn't a huge problem. It does make it easier to find certain things really quickly, but for things like calendars it can be a real pain, because obviously your calendar's not necessarily gonna progress in an alphabetical order. Mine certainly doesn't. So having everything sort by alphabetical is a bit of a pain when it comes to a calendar, because I like to have the first month at the top. So I know what you're probably thinking, I can't wait to get my hands on this and share it with my players. Now, sharing isn't available in LegendKeeper at the moment, but it is coming, and there is going to be the ability for you to set permissions so different people can view different amounts of information, and that is going to make this really, really cool for West Marches style campaigns. Say I'm running a West Marches style campaign and I decide to bring in a second DM. That DM isn't super familiar with the world, but I can give them the LegendKeeper information for Ashk. It has all the locations, it has all the information on the locations, and they can start running a game. They might decide to drop their players in Cassin. Well, they can click over here and they can get all the information. They can get the maps, they can get the adventure information, and the players can be handed this map without some of the pins in. Maybe it's only got the pin for Cassin on it, and they say, right, you start here, what do you want to do? Well, they might complete their quests in Cassin and then go, right, okay, we want to follow this river to the north. Well, they would eventually come across the town of Sinir, and there might be adventures there, or they might decide to go past that town and carry on, and they can come to any of these towns. Or they might decide to go over the mountains and out into the great sea of sand and find different things out there. The options for running a really sandboxy, really open world style of game using LegendKeeper are really, really cool. But there's another couple of sections that I haven't talked about. Over here on the left, you can see that there is a story section. Now this section is really similar to the wiki area, but it gives you a lot more freedom in how you organize things. So if I just click over into the story, you can create different books, and within those books you basically get a wiki area. You can add different articles, you can nest articles together, and you can add different elements. One thing that I think this is going to be really handy for is keeping your session notes. So you might decide to add a story for session 1, and you might go ahead and call that session 1 and record all the information that happened in your first session, and then do that for 5 or 6 different sessions, and then decide to group them by story arc. So you create a new page called Arc 1, and you can drag your session in there. So you can break down the different elements of your story, keep a track of what all of your players have done, and keep a track of who they've met and all the things that they've come into contact with. So we might put that the players begin in Cassin. So players begin in, and then we'll hit the @ key, which lets LegendKeeper know we're trying to link something, and start typing, and you'll see it gives us options. So we'll choose Cassin. Now, because I've got a location called Cassin, and Cassin is the name of one of my codex entries for me breaking down my NPCs, it lists them twice. So what I really need to do is go to my list of beings, and where I've got Cassin, put Cassin NPCs, just to make linking a little bit easier. But I can click on Cassin, I can save that. So in my player notes, I know that the players begin in Cassin. I can hover over that, it brings up the preview of the article for Cassin, or I can click on it and navigate to the page. And then finally on the left here, you can see that there's the option for modules. Now this doesn't do anything at the moment, but from what I've seen, a lot of these modules look really, really cool. Everything from character templates, so being able to import your player character's information, to monster stat blocks that are in the style of the 5th edition monster manual. All of those kinds of things are going to be available in the modules for you to drag into your game, and it looks really exciting. It's still really early days for LegendKeeper, but even though it's only in the beta period and it's missing quite a lot of the functionality that I would want before making the full switch, I am really, really hopeful that this is going to be able to do everything I want to do as a Dungeon Master running the game at the table. I have the option to link to different monsters and get their stats. I have the option to click on a map and bring up information about that area, and then click on individual elements from that article and get further information, all in a pretty interface. And if you are quite a visual person, like I really like visuals, it makes it much easier for me to run the game if everything's arranged like this and it's visually appealing, rather than opening up a Google Docs folder that has got 40 different documents in it and trying to remember where did I put that particular thing. LegendKeeper has a full searchable list, so I can type in Cassin and it will bring up every mention of Cassin and give me links to it all, which is really, really handy if you're trying to find something quickly. Let's say, for example, if you are running a combat and you've got your battle map open, let's say one of them summons a skeleton and you need to get the information for your skeleton, well, you can just click up here and start typing skeleton and it will bring up the page. You click it, you've got the information, it's there, it's done. It's really convenient and really intuitive to use. Another feature that isn't available yet but that is a priority is the ability to export your world. I know that Braden, the creator of LegendKeeper, is really conscious about people being able to keep all of their information. One of the worries that a lot of people have with an online service like this is, if I put all this work into it and put all of my world on there and don't have it anywhere else, what happens if this site disappears? Well, that is a primary concern, and in a future build there's going to be the option to export your entire world in a format that you can then upload somewhere else. And there you have it, an overview of the LegendKeeper app. I'm really excited about this product, and I will be spending a lot of time over the coming weeks adding things to Ash and setting it up so that I can run a campaign through LegendKeeper. I'm sure along the way I will discover all sorts of tips and tricks and little hacks, if you like, on how to get the most out of the tool, and I will make sure to make videos on using all of those aspects when I get around to them. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button, and if you are new here, consider subscribing, because I do release new RPG and world building content every single week. But until next time, happy gaming. If you're new here and like what you see, make sure to hit the subscribe button. I release new RPG related content every single week. And if you enjoy what I do here, consider supporting me on Patreon. You get access to behind the scenes video, early access to the regular videos, exclusive content, and a whole bunch more. And if you want to keep watching, I've got a couple of videos over there that you might enjoy. And until next time, happy gaming.